All right, when you picture New Zealand, what do you see? I bet it's incredible landscapes, right? A stable, safe country, great quality of life. I mean, it's pretty much paradise on earth. It's this beautiful, remote nation with just over 5 million folks, and it seems like they've got it all figured out. But there's something strange happening just beneath that perfect surface.
So if New Zealand is this dream destination, why are its own people leaving in record numbers? I mean, think about it. It's a total head scratcher. People who live in a country most of us would love to even visit are packing up and heading out. And we're not talking about a few people here and there. This is a massive exodus. So what on earth is going on? Just to give you an idea of the scale we're talking about, more than 10%. That's 1 in every 10 New Zealanders living somewhere else. And where are they going? Well, the huge majority are just hopping across the ditch to Australia. For a stable, developed country, that number is, well, it's kind of staggering.
Yeah, we're calling this the Kiwi Exodus Paradox. And that's not just a fancy name. The rate people are leaving is so high, it's actually been compared to the emigration rates you see in countries with serious problems, like major conflicts. So how can that be? How can a place that looks so perfect on the outside be seeing so many of its people leave?
And it's not just about the sheer number of people leaving. It's about who they are. We're talking about young, skilled, highly productive workers, basically the people at the very beginning of their careers. They're the future of the country. It's a classic brain drain, and for New Zealand, it's a really big deal. All right, so where do we even begin to unpack this? Well, the most obvious place to look is the cost of living. And in New Zealand, that conversation almost always comes back to one thing: housing. It's like the entire economy is built on it. Just look at this. When you add up everything related to housing, I'm talking selling them, renting them, building them, getting mortgages, it all adds up to about half of the whole country's GDP. That's a lot. When your economy is that focused on just one thing, especially property, you're bound to run into some pretty big issues. And the biggest issue, it's created one of the most ridiculously unaffordable real estate markets anywhere in the world. I mean, it seems like a simple explanation, right? Young people can't afford a house, so they pack up and leave. Case closed. But hold on, it's not quite that simple. Because here's the thing that changes everything. The majority of these Kiwis, they're not moving to some cheap, affordable paradise. They're moving to Australia. The country with a housing crisis that's just as bad, if not worse. So if you're leaving to find a cheap house, Australia is definitely not the answer. That tells us there's something else going on here, something much bigger. And that's when you realize maybe this isn't a story about what's pushing people out of New Zealand. Maybe it's actually about what's pulling them towards Australia. You see, the legal and political ties between these two countries are incredibly tight. It's kind of like the free movement you see within the European Union. A New Zealander can just decide to move to Australia, and they can live there, work there, buy a house, no special visa, no hoops to jump through. For a young Kiwi, moving to Sydney is basically as easy as moving to Auckland. And let's be honest, Australia just offers more opportunities because it's so much bigger. We're talking more career options, especially for specialized fields. There are way more universities to choose from. And get this, New Zealand students pay the same tuition as locals. So you've got that, plus the culture is basically the same, everyone speaks English. For a young, ambitious Kiwi, it starts to look like a no-brainer. But this super easy open door policy has a major downside, at least for New Zealand. While it's great for the individual person who wants to move, it's creating a huge problem for the country they're leaving behind.
I mean, just look at the numbers. The flow is almost entirely one way. You've got something like 600,000 Kiwis living in Australia. And how many Aussies live in New Zealand? About 90,000. It's a huge imbalance. And it's not just the numbers, it's who's making the move that really matters.
So what you've got is this strange trade-off. New Zealand is losing its young, skilled workers who are just starting out. And who are they getting in return? Well, a lot of them are older, wealthier Australian retirees. They come over, buy a nice house, enjoy the lifestyle, but they're not exactly filling those gaps in the workforce. And this whole situation has led to a really weird side effect. New Zealand has kind of become known as a backdoor to Australia. See, because New Zealand is losing so many of its own workers, it has to bring in immigrants to fill the jobs. And sometimes its immigration rules are a bit easier to meet than Australia's.
So you can see how it works, right? Someone moves to New Zealand, gets residency, maybe even becomes a citizen. And as soon as they have that New Zealand passport, they can just pack up and move to Australia, where the job market is much bigger.
So in a way, New Zealand's immigration system is accidentally recruiting workers for Australia. Okay, so you're probably thinking, if this is causing such a huge brain drain, why doesn't New Zealand just, you know, change the rules? Why not just close the door a little? Well, as you can probably guess, it's way more complicated than that. For starters, it's politically almost impossible. Remember that 10% of the population living in Australia? They can still vote in New Zealand elections. You think they're going to vote for a politician who wants to trap them? No way. Then there's the fact that these two countries are incredibly close allies. And honestly, most Kiwis back home actually like having the freedom to move if they want to. It's a safety net, an option. Even if it's not great for the economy, it's great for them personally. And that really brings us to the core of the whole thing. It's this constant tension. New Zealand offers this incredible lifestyle. It's safe, it's beautiful, it's stable. But Australia offers opportunity, and on a scale that New Zealand just can't compete with. So for every young Kiwi looking at their future, the big question is always going to be, is living in paradise actually enough?